life of grown men and women, has now become mine, something I no longer regard from the outside, but fill from within. It doesn't. I take no particular joy in turning on the sprinkler, no more than I find pleasure in buttering a slice of bread, or taking off my shoes as I enter the house. Now it is the world of the child that I observe from the outside. And what more fitting image for this asymmetry in life could there be than the basement window, which is at once high up beneath the ceiling and low down near the ground? Chestnut trees. We have a chestnut tree in the garden. It stands in the corner between the two houses and towers more than 20 meters into the air, maybe as many as 25. The longest branches extend at least 10 meters from the trunk, and one of the first things I did when we moved here was to saw off the bottom ones, since some of them partially blocked the path between the houses, while others had grown across the roof and rested upon it. But even though this chestnut tree is so large, from a distance that is what one sees of the property, not the roofs, and though I have climbed it and sawed into it, I never really noticed it, never thought about it. It was as if it didn't exist. Now it seems inconceivable that I have lived side by side with such a huge creature for 5 years without really seeing it. What kind of a phenomenon is that? To see without seeing. Presumably it comes about because the thing one sees doesn't stick. But what do the things we really see stick to? We say that something gives meaning, as if meaning is something we receive as a gift. But actually, I think it is the other way round. It is we who give meaning to what we see. And this chestnut tree, which I am looking at as I sit here writing, I didn't give any meaning to. It was there, and I knew it was there. It wasn't like I bumped into it on my way between the houses, but it meant nothing to me, and therefore had no real existence. What happened is that this spring and summer I've been studying paintings by the artist Edvard Munch. I've looked at all his paintings, again and again, and I've become familiar with most of them. He painted several chestnut trees, and there was one painting in particular that struck me. It depicts a chestnut tree on a city street, and is painted almost impressionistically, in the sense that all surfaces appear as color rather than as solid objects. They are more for the eye than for the hand, more for the instant than to endure. The chestnut is blossoming, and its white flowers are painted like little posts amid all the green, where they shine like lamps. When I look out at the chestnut tree beyond my window, nothing about its flowers resembles the flowers Munch painted. They don't look like vertical lines, but like little puffs of white arranged in 4 or 5 tiers, and they are not pure white, but tinged with beige and brown. And yet it was Munch's painting, which when our tree began to blossom at the end of May, made me understand for the first time that a chestnut tree was standing there. The same thing happened with the trees that grow along the pavement on the road into the center of Ystad, the one that runs along the railway tracks in the harbor, where the big ferries to Poland and Bornholm rear up. But they're chestnut trees, I thought, when they began to bloom. And it wasn't the name that made the difference. It wasn't that now I could say that they were chestnuts, whereas before I hadn't known. For I had. I knew all the time what kind of trees they were. It was something else. The chestnut trees now occupied an intimate place in my mind. And I think it is this intimacy we mean when we talk about authenticity. For intimacy radically suspends distance, which is the central element of every theory of alienation advanced in the last century, and which remains an active force in our yearning for the tangible, which we feel to be closer to reality. The opposing poles are not modernism and anti-modernism, progress and retrogression. These are merely the consequences of the balance between intimacy and non-intimacy, a question of where we place the emphasis. And that in turn depends on what we have use for and what we want from our lives. Do we want to take the chestnut tree in? Do we want to see it and let it occupy a place within us?